So if you were to bring the black share of wealth at least to the black share of the population, it would require an additional at least $10 trillion.
Look live, y'all. We
Right,
are
we are here
live.
in the building. Mass Media Group.
With a very special guest today.
Yes, very special. Oh yeah, guys, avatar up in time. Gregg, Marcel, Dixon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
We're doing all right out here in California. As you know, you've been pretty supportive of our reparations movement out here. So thank you for that, even calling into the task force a time or two.
Yeah, it was two. It was definitely two. It was definitely two. And now that it got passed, I can go ahead and admit that. So yes, thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. So I know you're busy, man. We know you got a lot of work you're doing out there. So we definitely want to get into the program. So let's, I guess, do some housekeeping. Get the show on the road.
Okay.
So Kim, let's see here. All right. Did you want me to start rolling down the?
Yeah.
Let's go here. Let's do this. If you have, family, if you haven't checked out one of our shows is called the New Freedmen's Bureau. Go check it out on our platform. We break down. It's a think tank. Do some ideas about what a new Freedmen's Bureau could look like, specifically here in California. You might be able to actually take that information into your own city, state, as well. Marcel, is there something, I know you're familiar with the Freedmen's Bureau. Is that something that you might think about or want to implement out there in South Carolina?
Oh, that's on my plan. That was one of the original things on my platform, reinstating the Freedmen's Bureau. And being a South Carolinian, I have a special connection to the Freedmen's Bureau. The first Freedmen's Bureau was right here in South Carolina. The first Freedmen's Bank, the first Freedmen Town, Special Field Order 15, which was in some books they refer to as Freedmen Shore, all right here in South Carolina. Well, South Carolina was definitely a major part of it. So that's always been a part of my platform. The thing with my vision of the Freedmen's Bureau, though, is that it's going to be an independent agency of the government. The government will finance it, support it, buffer it, kind of like what they do with the IRS, but it's going to be a completely independent agency, and it's only going to be staffed by people who are actually freemen themselves. The same thing they do with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So that is my vision for the Freedmen's Bureau. But being a South Carolinian, you know I have to bring the Freedmen's Bureau back. We had the first one.
Well, there you go. Kim, you have any comments on that?
It's just an amazing bit of history there. Yeah, definitely got to bring that back.
All right. And so, family, please support our channel. Pretty close to 1,000 subs. So like, share, subscribe, hit that bell, fam. Hit that bell to get notified on what's going on with what we're doing on this platform, trying to ring that bell for reparations. Yes, we actually are having a reparations rally here in Sacramento. That's 11 to 1. That's going to be June 12th. If you're out in Sacramento or Northern California, come through, say what's up. That's June 12th. This will not be aired or televised, so you will have to be in the building.
Have you ever been to California, Marcel?
I did. I visited it back in 2018, I believe. I went to San Diego, LA, San Francisco.
Okay, what'd you think of the Golden State?
It's not for me. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not for me. I need to see way more black people when I am in a place. And I mean, I saw black people in LA, and I saw black people in San Francisco. In San Diego, I saw black people too, but I'm sure they didn't live there. So they were just stationed there for the military. But the thing that bothered me, I saw more black people that were homeless than I saw that actually were not homeless, and that does not fit well with me. So California is just not for me. I love my people in California, but I love them enough to not want them to be in California. It's just not. To me, it's a hostile state to Black Americans who are freedmen, and to me, California gets to skirt by with its anti-blackness underneath this guise of being progressive.
Yeah, Marcel, I don't. Are you there? I don't know if you cut off or ended your statement.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. We hear you now. But you're absolutely right. Out here in California, we are, Black people are disproportionately represented in the homeless population, unfortunately.
And I knew it was bad when I came there, but I didn't know it was that bad. Like I thought Skid Row was just like a certain block. I didn't know that Skid Row had since expanded, and it goes far beyond Skid Row. So California, like all of America, has pretty much given black people a raw deal, if we get any deal at all. And the thing is, a lot of black people I know have left California because they've been priced out, have gone to Texas. Now the same thing's happening in Texas, but the only positive I would say is hopefully that will lead a lot of black Californians back to their roots, because a lot of black Americans who are descendants of American slaves, or as I prefer to say, freedmen, actually have Louisianan roots. So hopefully that'll lead to people going back to Louisiana, making Louisiana a majority black state, and starting our reverse migration strategy where we have full state control, and then we get to have a lot more congressional representation, on code congressional representation. That's my hope.
That's a good hope. That's definitely a good hope, and we're gonna get into that as we go along into the show, for sure. We're actually speaking of you going to San Francisco, we're going to have a first California reparations listening session on the 28th. And for those who are in Northern California and those who are in California in general, or even out of the state, if you want to come, go ahead, hit that QR code on the screen. It will send you to the Eventbrite registration where you can register. This will be streamed on our channel, so you can, if you're not attending, you can definitely watch it and support. We're going to be talking about ACA 3. We're going to have some food, some raffles there, and some other great things going on. So if you're, once again, in Northern California or coming out of state, definitely check us out. That's May 28th at 1 o'clock. And we also have another community listening session for Juneteenth down in Los Angeles. A shout out to NAASD LA, which is a tier 2 organization through CJEC, which is an official selected anchor organization through the UCLA Bunch Center for the California Reparations Task Force. So we're going to be doing, and ETM is going to be in the building as well. We're calling it the People's Juneteenth 2022. So we're going to have a listening session actually on the 19th. But we're actually going to be involved with some festivities June 18th as well. So definitely come check us out there. All right. So today we are once again talking with Gregg, Marcel, Dixon. Now, who did you make this statement up, fighting for you because I am you? Or did somebody make that? And what does that exactly mean?
Again, I wanted to find something that would capture my campaign. So my campaign is now, and what I'm very much well known for is repair Black America to fix America. When I started off, I was saying fighting for you because I am you. That was just until I thought of something which I was in love with. And fighting for you because I am you didn't quite center Black Americans, freedmen, like I wanted it to. So I had that in the beginning, but it's been a long time since I've used that. But to discuss that, though, I was saying that because I wanted to know Black Americans to know I'm fighting for you as descendants of American slaves because I am you too. Like we're from the same lineage, the same problems. You can believe it when I fight for you. But like I said, it didn't center Black people enough. Like it was too vague. So now when people meet me and they see me wearing my shirt, was repair Black America to fix America, there's no way anyone can not know what it is that Marcel is about. Because now they see Black America, repairing Black America to fix America. And that's the one that really resonates with me the most.
Wonderful. All right, so let's start going into some of the references here, and we're going to commemorate some of the ancestors right now. So let's go into Marcel. I'm going to go ahead and mute you just real quick because we're getting some feedback, and so when we're ready to talk, just go ahead and unmute that button. Greatly appreciate that. So Malcolm X, known as he was known as Malcolm X, but then he later became El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. We just wanted to give a shout out, Ashe, to the great warrior, the great prince, the great king. He was born Malcolm Little. He was born May 19th, 1925, and transitioned February 21st, 1965. So just wanted to commemorate him, because without him and many warriors like him, we would not be here today. We definitely stand on the shoulders of giants.
Rest in power.
Ashe, Ashe. All right, so I guess Kim will go over an Ashe to the victims in the Buffalo shooting. We'll just want to give some praise to them. So we'll just give a brief reading of each one, and then we'll move on. So Kim, you want to start out?
Okay, so sadly, again, these are the victims of the Buffalo massacre that recently happened, shot down by a racist white supremacist. We have Hayward Patterson. Hayward Patterson took pride in helping people, said his nephew, Terrell Clark. Patterson was a 67-year-old taxi driver who is waiting for passengers outside the supermarket Saturday when he was gunned down, said Clark. And we also have Aaron Salter, the hero security guard who engaged the suspect but was fatally shot, was Aaron Salter, a former Buffalo police lieutenant, said the mayor. Ashe. And I'm just reading a little snippet of their profiles here. If you want to read further, you can take a screenshot there for later. All right, and next up.
Celestine Cheney, 65. She was 65 years old. Was a grandmother to 6 and a loving and caring person. Her grandson, Wayne Johnson, told CNN. We have Roberta Drury, who was 32. She moved to Buffalo around 8 years ago. She dedicated much of her time to helping her brother with his leukemia treatment and assisting her family with running their restaurant.
All right, we have Catherine Macy, 72. Catherine Macy was 72, was known as Cat, was an activist who will greatly be missed by the entire community. Eva Doyle, a retired Buffalo school teacher and longtime friend, told CNN. We also have Margus Morrison, 52, was out buying snacks at the grocery store for a weekly movie night he planned with his wife. His stepdaughter, Sandra Demps, told CNN.
Geraldine Taylor, 62, was doing her regular grocery shopping with her fiance on Saturday when she was shot and killed. Her niece, Lakeisha Chapman, told CNN. We also have Ruth Whitfield, 86. She's the mother of former Buffalo Fire Commissioner Garnell Whitfield.
All right, we have Pearl Young. Pearl Young, 77, was a substitute teacher and a true pillar of the community, her family said in a statement. And we also have Andre McNeil, one of the slain victims of Buffalo's hate-fueled rampage, was picking up a special surprise birthday cake for his son when he was killed, grieving relatives said Monday. Ashe to all of the victims there. It's just a terribly sad and avoidable tragedy.
Yeah.
And Marcel, I know that you've been pushing for a Black anti-hate crime bill. Do you want to talk about your involvement in that?
Well, I've been pushing for us to have protected class status, and that's really the reason for the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau will make us a protected class status. We will have an entire agency funded by the government with the resources to protect us and to respond to any issue that impacts us, whether it's Black women, the high number of Black women have quote unquote gone missing, or whether it is eminent domain destroying our communities. It will respond to all issues. But in the case of things such as this massacre in Bluffton, I have another approach. For that, I am advocating for all of us to arm ourselves. Okay? I am advocating for all of us to take marksman classes so we can become not just well armed and well equipped, but we can also become very adept at using guns. I know that this monster, this scum, had on body armor. I already said I'm looking into legislation. This is something I have to look into more to repeal the prohibition on armor-piercing bullets. Because if that's what they think they're going to be able to do, is shoot at us and kill us and have armor on to which our bullets cannot penetrate and be safe, that's not going to be the case at all. I'm also advocating for us to be able to police ourselves. Obviously, there was an FBI memo in 2006, 2007 saying that white supremacists have infiltrated police precincts throughout the entire nation. And apparently this little scumbag said in its memo, because that's how I refer to it as an it, said in its memo that its biggest supporters were in the military and in the police. I mean, we already knew that, but this was just confirmation. So we need to have our brothers and sisters that have been in the military We need to have them in charge of our own police force. This is why I want us to have our own separate communities where we protect, we sustain. And in order for us to get that, we need reparations. We need our special class protected status. We need tax exemption. We need our land to be exempt from eminent domain. So that is my approach with this situation right here. But I also do have a plan for the police department overall. There should be constant, weekly background checks on these police officers and people in the military, people in the FBI, the CIA, all of these agencies that exist that are supposed to keep us safe. There should be constant background checks into whom they're associating, into what type of people they are supporting. Because if you're supporting a scumbag like this, we cannot trust you to keep anyone who is not of your ideology safe.
Facts on that. Now, a lot of our people, as you know, got caught up on trumped up felony charges or something like that would prevent them from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Do you have a plan around that?
That's why we get class protected status. We will become a special protected group. So therefore, those former felony rights that prohibit them from being able to possess firearms will be repealed specifically for them. But overall, I feel that unless it is a violent offense, I feel that a person should not have their right to own a firearm taken from them. Certain offenses, yes. Violent offenses, yes. But if it was something non-violent, then why are you prohibiting them from getting a firearm for something non-violent? If I stole a bag of M&Ms from a grocery store once or twice, and I went to prison for that, that has nothing to do with me being a trustworthy person with a firearm. So I am definitely in favor of repealing that type of legislation right there. But non-violent offenses, terroristic threats, support of terroristic hateful ideology, you absolutely should not have a firearm.
All right, and
I want to say this real quick as well. I'm also a fan of using the RICO approach to taking down these white supremacist anti-black groups. I really don't like the term white supremacist because to me, it makes it seem like it's only white people who are supporting it. There are many non-white people who are not black and some who are black who are anti-black as well. So that's why I like to say anti-black bigots, but I also support that as well.
And briefly, can you give people an understanding of the situation that happened with, I believe it was Dylan Ruth, who murdered 9 people at a church in South Carolina?
I really hate talking about these type of things. It makes me murderously angry. But the anti-black bigoted piece of garbage murdered 9 people in a church, a historic church in the United States of America, especially for Black Americans. And when it was captured, they took it to get something to eat from Burger King because, they recognize their own and they protect their own. Now, the excuse for that was that they were trying to get information from him. Why could you not just beat the hell out of him? That's what you do to Black Americans who do something as little as jaywalk. So why could you not beat the hell out of him and get information from him that way? You see how they were handling that scumbag with kid gloves. Yet we've seen Black people, especially Black men, get the crap beat out of them just for riding a bicycle in the opposite direction or some crazy, insignificant offense, if it's even an offense that doesn't hurt anyone. So my same approach applies to that situation with that thing that murdered the people in the church in Charleston.
So when that happened, didn't they attempt to put some legislation on the books, some anti-Black hate crime legislation that just kind of went nowhere? Were you aware that they were trying to do anything at that time to pass legislation?
I mean, I'd never heard of that. My first time hearing about that is when Attorney Benjamin Crump made a post saying that after the Mother Emanuel massacre, there was talk about an anti-black hate bill. I've never heard of that. I mean, that's news to me. But you know, if it was talk, I can believe it. That's all they do when it comes to us is talk. They say enough to placate us or to get us out to the polls, and then they do absolutely nothing. Now, I want you to tell me, after those agents were murdered and that massage parlor that was strangely open in the middle of the night, but after those agents were murdered in that massage parlor, I didn't hear talk about legislation to protect Asian Americans. They took action. They took concrete action. And I know a lot of the cools out there like to say that it's not just for Asians. That's a damn lie. Yes, the policy part of it it really applies to everyone. Funny, that's the same thing we say about the Constitution. The Constitution is race neutral. That really applies to everyone, but then they tell us, no, the Constitution did not apply to Black Americans when we say it did. And we say that's one of the main reasons why we are deserving reparations. Funny how those same damn people are now saying that the COVID-19 hate crime bill is applicable to every group. But if you read the legislative text that tells you the purpose of that bill, they make it very, very clear it was for Asian Americans. They don't mention Black and brown, people of color, minorities. Now, every time they mention us, they got to shoe on some goddamn Black and brown. I don't know whom are these brown people to whom they are referring. I don't know who these people of color are to whom they are referring. But the point of the matter is that the Asian Americans, but a few days later, got an entire hate crime bill. We as Black Americans, according to Benjamin Crone, we got discussion of a hate crime bill. And we've been going through the most hate crimes for centuries. So that's news to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did talk about it. That's what they're good for doing for us, talking and not doing a damn thing.
But there was no real, as far as you know, movement around it or no groundswell of it. Because that's the first I heard of it, too, is, you know, the recent vote.
First time I've heard of it, too. I didn't know nothing about that.
Okay. And, you know, you mentioned COVID, which brings us to another subject. I'm just going to switch gears a little bit here based on the situation I went through.
It's called the vacation.
The vacation went through
and
yesterday.
Just real quick, Kim, just real quick. Disclaimer, we are not physicians. This is none of our opinion matters. I just don't want to get this taken down. But yeah, go ahead, Kim. Sorry. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. So on the vacation, Coco, whatever we want to call it, I was invited to speak at an event yesterday. When I get there, you know, they're checking for vacation passports. Let's just say I didn't have my handy. You know, ladies be switching purses, whatever the case may be. Just didn't have my paperwork in order. So, you know, denied entry. What is your stance on these vacation mandates?
I mean, I feel that everyone has the autonomy and the right to decide if you want to come to their business, being that we are still in a pandemic officially. So if a place wants to decide that you need to be vaccinated to come here or to work there, I don't agree with it, but I will support their right to do that, because I think of when we as Black Americans get our own communities and our own businesses, I don't want them being able to tell us nothing. So for the fact, you know, the same way some businesses can say you can't come in without a shirt on or without shoes, people can mandate because we are still in an officially declared pandemic. I support their right to make that decision. Now, do I agree with it? No, I do not. I don't agree with jobs, for example, mandating people take the vaccine. I don't agree with that at all. But as far as vacation mandates, which I'm guessing you mean boarding a plane, or what do you exactly mean by vacation mandates? I want to make sure I understand.
That you're clear on the code. The vacation is kind of, you know, another reference to vaccine.
Oh, okay. Well, with the vaccines, now that's a more general question. Okay, well, I mean, I took the vaccine, but trust me, it was a long, hard decision to make. I still don't trust it. Black Americans, freedmen, have every right not to trust it. There's a long, ugly history. The same way that little coward ambushed our people who were just grocery shopping and murdered them. And there's a long history of that happening. These white supremacists, anti-black bigots have always been cowards. They either have to ambush us, they either already have to outnumber us. They've always been pieces of
Oh, you're in the matrix a little bit. I know you be out in there in them rural areas hitting pockets, but yeah, I mean, the whole situation was just giving me slave paper vibes. If you don't have your slave papers, you could end up back in slavery.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I said the same way there's a long history of cowards like that person in the grocery store who ambushed our people who were just shopping. There's a long history of cowards either having to ambush us or having to outnumber us to work out their hatred. There's a long history of medical experimentation on our people as well. We know about Tuskegee.
We're losing Marcel a bit.
Matrix again.
Yeah, well, if you want to switch gears, Shamoya, and get into some of these slides while we wait for Marcel's audio to get right.
Okay. Yeah, Marcel, just if you want to just say something, let us know that you're back. You are through the matrix right now. So we're going to continue with the program. But once again, just let us know when you're back, man. It's all good. All right. So let's see here. So we wanted to definitely continue and commemorate on this day, May 22nd. For those who didn't know, the United States colored troops in 1863 created the Bureau of Colored Troops. And it looks like it was from 1863 to 1867. So Kim, we'll go ahead and switch paragraphs if that's okay with you.
Cool.
I'll start it off. The Bureau of Colored Troops was created by the United States War Department on May 22nd, 1863, under General Order number 143 during the Civil War, to handle all matters relating to the organization of colored troops. Major Charles W. Foster was chief of the Bureau, which reported to Adjutant General Lorenzo Thomas. The designation United States Colored Troops replaced the varied state titles that had been given to the African American soldiers.
The first official authorization to employ African Americans in federal service was the Second Confiscation of Militia Act of July 17, 1862. This act allowed President Abraham Lincoln to receive into the military service persons of African descent and gave permission to use them for any purpose he may judge best for public welfare. However, the president did not authorize use of African Americans in combat until issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863. And I further declare and make known that such persons of suitable condition will be received into the armed service of the United States to garrison forts, position stations, and other places, and to man vessels of all sorts in said service. With these words, the Union Army changed.
All right, we do have Marcel back. Are you there, man?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to figure out how much I was able to hear before my connection dropped.
Okay, so you're back. So we're going to go through one or two slides and then probably going to get back to some discussion, obviously, in your district of what's going on. So usually in this session, we usually have the person who's on as well participate and read, but we know that you're busy and driving right now. So Kim and I, we're going to continue and wrap this thing up. During the American Civil War in mid-1863, the administrative load became so burdensome that the War Department decided to create a single entity under the umbrella of the Adjutant General's office called the Bureau of Colored Troops to manage its affairs, headed by Major Charles W. Foster, the Bureau was to systematize the process of raising Black units and securing officers for them. It also served as a clearinghouse of information on these units. Over the course of the next year, the War Department began to change the names of Black commands. Instead of state designations, they became United States Colored Troops, and the various units became United States Colored Infantry, Artillery, or Cavalry.
Racial segregation and treatment. The Bureau of Colored Troops brought efficiency to the USCT regiments, but was not always equitable treatment. Despite objections from Black leaders, the Bureau insisted on assigning only white men to commissioned officer positions. Although a small number of Black soldiers received commissions by the end of the war, including the Virginia-born Martin R. Delaney, and many served as non-commissioned officers, the USEC remained primarily an organization led by whites. Officials in the Army and in the government also initially assumed that Black regiments would rarely, if ever, be in combat. As a result, Black soldiers endured a disproportionate share of labor duty. Also, the assumption that Black soldiers were workers, not fighters, led to inequities in pay. It was initially indicated that Black soldiers would be paid $13 per month, which was the wage that white soldiers received. But in the Militia Act of 1862, Congress set the pay for Black soldiers at $10 per month, three of which could be in clothing, which was the rate for military laborers. Black soldiers were also often denied recruitment bounties routinely offered to white soldiers and were rarely eligible to collect aid for dependents, a benefit that the state legislation often made available to white men serving in the ranks.
Major supporters. After the Emancipation Proclamation was announced, Black recruitment was pursued in earnest. Volunteers from South Carolina, Tennessee, and Massachusetts filled the first authorized Black regiments. However, recruitment was slow until the support of prominent figures of African American cultures such as Frederick Douglass and Martin Delaney. Martin Delaney was commissioned as a major, the first African American field officer in the United States Army during the American Civil War, and was active in recruiting Blacks for the United States Colored Troops. Frederick Douglass, on the other hand, encouraged Black men to become soldiers to ensure eventual full citizenship. Volunteers began to respond, and in May 1863, the government established the Bureau of Colored Troops to manage the burgeoning numbers of Black soldiers. Marcel, in terms of like history, I know you did mention the Second Amendment. Kind of what's your take in terms of down there in South Carolina and getting more, Black people involved in law enforcement? And what do you think, or do you think Black people should get more involved in law enforcement?
I always feel this way. Anytime we get involved in a field and they don't have any anti-Blackness there, we usually take over the field. And we usually do it better than it's ever been done before. So I'm a fan of us getting involved in law enforcement, but I'm a fan of us having our own precinct and our own agencies. As law enforcement stands now, unless there was a surge of us in the current system, I just don't see it changing. But if we were to get involved in the top echelons from the top to the bottom, that is definitely something I could support. But we also have to be very honest about something. Sometimes these Black officers get in there and they are more anti-Black than the white ones. So that's something we got to keep in mind as well.
All right. I think we'll move forward, Kim, if there's anything else you wanted to respond to that.
I know my takeaway in reading those passages was just, they say Congress set the disproportionate pay scales for Black soldiers, which, that's why we need more representation in Congress, like Marcel, who would, keep things just and equitable as best as possible.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into, I know we got about 15, 20 minutes left to go, so let's get into some things about South Carolina, shall we? Now, if Marcel, if there's something that's not accurate, because we did get this information from the internet, please let us know. But currently, it looks like as of 2019, the population was 665,000.
This is my district, my South Carolina 6th congressional district.
Yeah, I believe that's 665. Yeah, it says 665,000. Is that correct?
Yes, in South Carolina District 6, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the state of South Carolina is like 5 to 6 million, but in my district, the population is now like 700,000 or something like that.
Okay, and so it has grown.
Yes.
Right. Currently, the senator is Lindsey Graham, as also U.S. Senator Tim Scott. Both are of the Republican Party, and the great U.S. Representative Jim Clyburn, who's of the Democratic Party. Is that still the case in South Carolina?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick question. So this growth from 665 to approximately 700,000 that's happened since 2019. What do you attribute to that growth? Is that imported growth or organic growth? Where these extra people come from in the last 3 years during the COVID pandemic?
It's definitely imported growth. Older white people retiring to some of the retirement communities we have here, and Black freedmen, Black Americans, descendants of American slaves, who are moving back south. Those are the two largest groups that have fueled South Carolina's growth: white retirees and Black Americans returning south.
Okay.
All right. As of 2019, the median age is 36.9. Looks like the poverty rate is 24.1%. The home median household income is 41,000 approximately, and in 2019, the median property value is 114,700. I just want to ask you a quick question about the poverty rate at 24%. Once again, this is 2019 numbers. From your understanding, has that increased, and is the majority of the poverty rate Black descendants, or does that kind of share across the current demographic?
It's majority Black. On that website you're on, because I've been there before, if you scroll down, you will see they give you the breakdown of poverty by race and ethnicity, and you will see Black Americans are way to the top. And the poverty rate is 24% overall. But for Black Americans, the poverty rate is 30%. So 1 out of every 3 Black person in Clyburn's district lives in poverty. Now, I don't know the updated figure. I know the figure is 30, and that was as of 2021. I also want to say the median household income is 41,000, but that's not it for Black Americans. For white Americans, the median household income is 52 to 56,000. For Black Americans, it's 28 to 30,000. So we are far lower than the median income for the overall district, and that's in a majority Black district. We are still to the bottom with a Black congressman. If you are a congressman, you are supposed to serve the needs of your district, and that definitely will be the needs of the majority. He actually does the needs of a group that's a super minority. The Catawba Native Americans are only 3,000 in number, and most of them don't even live in South Carolina. I think like 2,500 of them live in North Carolina. And he wrote a bill giving them 20 acres of land. Black Americans in his district, the Gullah Geechee people, my people being one, we've lost hundreds of thousands of coastal property, beachfront, riverfront. He hasn't written a single piece of legislation about to stop our land from being stolen or for us to get compensated for the land. So he's just a bad politician in the sense that you're supposed to do for the needs of the majority. He does for the needs of the civil minority, illegal immigrants who are flooding my district as well. And most of the Hispanics in my district are there illegally. He's trying to get them to be citizens. But not only that, that crazy bill, which is disgusting, New Deal for New Americans, y'all ain't done a good deal for Black Americans. But in the New Deal for New Americans, it will not just give illegal immigrants citizenship and give them protected class status, where they will not be able to, you could not deport them for 20 years. It will give them resources to get homes, to get jobs, to get education and health care. Meanwhile, Black Americans in his district, we have the worst healthcare outcome than any other district in the United States of America. More Black people in Clyburn's district gets their arms and legs chopped off than anywhere else in the United States of America. We are the least insured in his district, but he's worried about some damn illegal immigrants.
Wow.
And so you're talking about actual amputation.
Yes, amputation. Y'all can Google it. Please Google it. The CDC has considered it a pandemic of Black Americans getting their arms and legs chopped off via amputation because
that's prevalent in the South. My people come from Louisiana, and that was my grandfather's situation from diabetes. He was one of his legs was amputated.
Right. It's very prevalent in the South, but guess what? Louisiana was mentioned in this article. They mentioned Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. And South Carolina was leaving them in the dust. That's how far ahead we were in a negative sense in the amputations. And the reason being is because conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, simple medical conditions that can be prevented, first of all, and can be easily treated. Black Americans live, we always talk about food deserts. We don't talk about healthcare deserts, how so many Black Americans live in areas where there are no hospitals, no doctor offices, no clinics. Clyburn's district is rife with them. Now, to be fair, because I do believe in being fair, that is one area where Clyburn has tried to do something. He has, since I've known of him, worked to get like healthcare clinics in rural areas. And I'm not saying this to defend him. Y'all know his record is terrible, but I'm a person who believes in being fair. I don't need to make up stuff to defeat him. His record's awful, but I can say fairly that is something that he has actually tried to do something about, like getting healthcare clinics in rural areas. But you know what? You've had 30 years. You haven't done a good job. I admire that you tried. You haven't done well. 30 years, it's time for you to go and let someone else take a shot at it because you apparently could not do it.
Okay, but it has been one of his priorities is getting healthcare into rural areas.
So. No, not his priority now. But that is his priority. His priority has been getting his daughter into Congress and making sure his family is treated like some new Black political dynasty, like the Black Kennedys. Now, I don't mind. I wouldn't actually care if that was the case. If he was actually doing something good for Black people, I wouldn't mind. But the same way the Kennedys ain't done a damn thing for Black people, he ain't done a damn thing for Black people.
Wow, shameful.
All right, so we're going to go on to some economics. So we talked about the median household income, and thanks Marcel for breaking down those statistics for the Black folk. So it looks like the economy of Congressional District 6, South Carolina employs 281,000 people. The largest industries in Congressional District 6, South Carolina, are healthcare and social assistance. Looks like references about 37,000, retail trade 33,000, and manufacturing at 31,000. And the highest paying industries are utilities, looks like at 61,000. Professional, scientific, and technical services at 53,000, and information at 50,000 people. So based on some of these numbers, and I think this was ran in 2019, has any of this information changed? And is that basically correct in terms of some of the industries that are in South Carolina? And if so, do you think that South Carolina can actually incorporate some other industries as well?
The information is correct. When they say healthcare, I need to be very clear. People might be thinking doctors and nurses and surgeons. No, they're talking about a lot of certified nursing assistants who often work in people's homes, who often sit with patients that cannot live alone. And they do a very admirable job, but the pay is very poor. And usually there's very little room for progression. They oftentimes cannot afford to go to college to get a nursing degree, which a lot of them want to have. So when they say healthcare, I need people to understand they're not talking about nurses and doctors. And yes, we do have nurses and doctors in my district, of course, mean the MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina, is in my district. But they are mainly talking about a lot of people who work as certified nursing assistants, who sit with clients, who are house sitters, who work in people's homes and the retirement communities. The jobs pay very little, and the people do very, 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 very hard work. That's something to be very clear about. The jobs that are overrepresented are the retail jobs, which usually is the hospitality sector as well, because my area on the coast is a tourist area, a tourist attraction, and we don't necessarily get a lot of the tourist dollars, but we do have hotels that are cheaper. So when people want to come and visit Savannah, Georgia, Hilton Head Island, sometimes they will stay in areas in my district and just drive to Hilton Head Island or Savannah, Georgia, instead of paying for the hotels there that cost a lot more money. There's definitely a lack of industry here. We definitely need more industry here. But industry only comes when you have a few different prerequisites. One, you must have an educated populace. The school districts in my district are some of the worst performing in the nation. There's a region in my district called the Corridor of Shame. And I went to a school in the Corridor of Shame. I went to there K through 12, graduated from there, and I've taught in that corridor my entire life. My county, Jasper County, is a part of the Corridor of Shame. It refers to majority Black rural districts off I-95. The poverty rate is extremely high, and the rate of educational failure, unfortunately, is extremely high. And like I said, I've lived in that region my entire life. When businesses and industries see that rate of academic failure, where Black boys are 90% not reading or doing math on grade level, not because they're not intelligent, but because the issues at home and the support systems are not there for them, they're not going to bring their industries here. Oh, look at my billboard. I see it. Okay. The other one is infrastructure. South Carolina's infrastructure was rated a D. Okay, a D means poor. We have poor roads, we have poor wastewater and drainage system, and businesses need to have good infrastructure to get their products to and from where they need to go, and for people to come to the area. Another area is land. We have an abundance of land here, an absolute abundance of land here. But when you don't have the infrastructure to expand the electrical grid, to expand the water system, having all this land here is not going to do people any good. Another thing, this one is bittersweet. When industry does come here, it usually doesn't benefit the poor majority Black residents of this district. They usually import their help. Like we have in my district, well, I'm not sure if it's in my district or not. I'll have to check the map because my district is chopped up with District 1. But Boeing is right next to my district, if not in my district. And they import a lot of their employees there. Sometimes white Europeans, instead of investing in the people who live in that area. You see, those are things that a congressman will mandate. You have to get to the table and say, hey, you're not going to come to my area and run the black people off. And then when the good paying jobs come, you give them to people who are not from here. Hell no. You're going to mandate. You're going to have to train and invest in the people that live here. That's how you expand the economy. That's how you bring people to the economy. One of the reasons why our water, sewage, drainage system here is so poor, because those utility companies that you see are the highest paying jobs, they are often the highest paying jobs because it's a very small number of people doing them. They don't have the staff large enough to meet the needs of a large rural area. So because they don't have the staff, and they can't necessarily afford to pay people who want to come here and work those type of jobs, because it's hard getting people to want to move here, they often don't qualify for grants from the federal government to expand the water drainage system, to expand the electrical grid system. However, what I plan to do is to come up with grants and change the qualifications to qualify for a grant. And when you do those grants, those utilities companies are able to hire more people and then able to get those grants that will focus on them being able to make the infrastructural investments that they need. These are things that can be done when you have a congressman who knows about the needs of the district and is very actively concerned about the needs of the district. And again, Black Americans are the majority of this district. So everything I'm doing is going to help white Americans too. They're going to help the Asian Americans too. But what has not happened, they have not been helping Black Americans. How is it that we are the majority and we're the ones that are hurt the most and benefit the least? That is going to stop. And it stops when you have a congressman who's running on a platform such as I, which is to repair Black America, to fix America.
Amen to that. And when I see social assistance, I immediately think of out here in Sacramento, the way the get down is. We have a bunch of nonprofits. I call them like poverty pimps, because
that's exactly what they are.
Supposed to be helping the people. They get millions of dollars in grants and fundings, but it never seems to trickle down to the people. I'm wondering.
I had a white liberal tell me the other day, because these white liberals, let me tell you, if I had to choose between a white Republican and a white liberal, I promise you the white Republican will win every day. And I ain't lying. I'm not lying to y'all. I had a white liberal tell me that reparations should go to nonprofits in the marginalized community. I said, first of all, it wasn't marginalized communities in those plantations. Those were Black Americans, descendants of American slaves. I said, so get it right. He was like, well, they don't get any government support, and that way they'll be able to help the community. I said, let me tell you what you're not going to do. You're not going to come to me with that paternalistic BS. We don't need anyone be paternalistic towards us. It's our money. Give us our money. We'll take care of our issues. Even though we didn't cost them, we've always been the people to fix our issues. I said, third of all, I didn't see nonprofits in my rural community and other impoverished rural communities, inner city communities, all my life. And you know what I find funny? 3 years later, 13 years later, 30 years later, those same communities are still impoverished. And those nonprofits can't say one goddamn thing they've done to make life better. The statistics for my district with all the nonprofits here have actually gotten worse. So I'm not now. Let me be very clear. There are some nonprofits who are doing good work. There are some very, very good ones. Good people. But a lot of them are predatory and they are just feeding off us being impoverished. You see that with the nonprofits. You see that with people who are starting charter schools. Some of them are feeding off of the poverty and the failure and the neglect because they want us to be in those conditions, because if we are in those conditions, that justifies their presence there. It's going to stop.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say, Marcel, thank you for that. And on this platform, when somebody brings that fire, we got to do this.
But when we talk about these exhaustive programs and trickle down effect, I mean, that's one of my worries with our reparations claim out here in California, that it's not just these programs that, just never end up serving the people. We need something more efficient.
Well, let me say this about let me say this about California, because I see we're running. Well, we already over the house. So I don't want to hold y'all up. So let me say this about California. I love NWSD to death. I love the work they're doing. CJAC, everybody, love the work they're doing. Love to death, love y'all to death. All my people, get out of California, come back south. Ain't nothing for black people in California. I mean, we only 2% of the population. We ain't never gonna be the majority there. We can get to majority in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, and Maryland. Let's make this reverse migration strategy happen. Now, my point is though, the problem is the federal government has the ultimate responsibility to do reparations because, one, our constitutional rights, we were deprived of them, okay? The federal government sat there and allowed that to happen, okay? The federal government sat there and allowed Jim Crow to happen, redlining, the medical experimentation, our communities being bombed with U.S. military weaponry. Those were all things the federal government either did or they allowed to happen and failed to protect us. We are still suffering from those things. I just named a few. There's more brutality to name. So the federal government has the ultimate responsibility. So therefore, the federal government is the one that should pay the damn debt. Another thing is only the federal government has the resources to pay what we are owed via reparations. The federal government is a monetary sovereign. They do not run on taxes. They do not need tax dollars. The only thing that reins them in is inflation. So it's not about necessarily how much money we get. It's about when we get the money and how much we get at any given time. State governments run off of taxes. So state governments cannot do it. So I appreciate the California Reparations Initiative, how they've made it lineage-based. That's a good precedent. But outside of that, I'm aiming my arrow at the bullseye, and that's the federal government.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts on, with the stall with HR 40? They're not making the recommended edits. I mean,
HR 40 is a smokescreen. It's nothing. Disgusting. Toilet paper. Snot paper. Piss on it. Chew it up. Spit it out. Tear it up. HR 40 is nothing. I made Clyburn's daughter a to-go plate because she tried to come with me with that HR 40 and we gotta do HR 40. I packed the bags and let her at the door. HR 40, I told that's a study of reparations. We don't need no damn study, okay? I mean, what the hell is this? The finals before the day before the finals in college. What the hell? What we studying? They didn't study sending $200 to those damn Ukrainians. Okay, they're not Americans. They're not our allies. They don't care about us. They don't like us. A lot of them are Nazis. And when has America ever loved a good Nazi? Especially Joe Crow up there. He's a segregationist. They didn't study a damn dime to send trillions of dollars in military equipment and direct aid to the Ukrainians. They didn't do a damn study to send $450,000 or to try to send $450,000 per illegal who wrote applications and rightfully were apprehended, and you got Joe Crow, nobody else want to call the guy, trying to give them $450,000 in reparations. Where is this study for that? Okay? It's only a state that comes to pay us what we are owed. So HR 40 is nothing. It's garbage.
So what's the answer then? We need to start over, scrap HR 40, and it's what do we do from here?
The answer is on my reparations page, marcelmccarthy.com. I have my reparations plan written. The answer is one, get rid of Clyburn. Get me in there. The answer is when I get in there, I'm going to write legislation because, I didn't know this. I'm being very sarcastic here now, y'all. I didn't know this. I didn't know that when you work in Congress as a legislator, you can actually write a legislation. I didn't know that. You just write legislation and you actually, you bring it to the House Majority and House Minority Leader. I didn't know that. So, wow. Clyburn could have written a reparations bill. A real reparations bill. I have a real reparations plan already written, and all I have to do is convert it from a reparations plan to reparations legislation. Someone has to write it. Then after I write it, I have to get enough votes for it. Now, let me be very clear. I don't have to do this at all. Everyone has this responsibility. Every party owes Black Americans. The Republicans, who originally were our party and abandoned us, and the Democrats that have abandoned us in modern day. But now I got some for enough. That's why people ask me, "Oh, I'm not running as a Republican." Hell no. Why am I running no damn Republican? The Democrats owe my people in modern day. What I'm supposed to do? Make it easy for them? I want to give them pure hell. That's what they do right for my people. I'm gonna give them pure hell. Anyway, though. I'm going to get support for my bill. To get enough votes, my bill passes, we get reparations. But I can't do it alone. I can't do it just tweeting on Twitter. So I have to actually get votes. And if you can't vote for me with your ballot, you can vote for me with your wallet. So marcelforcongress.com/donate. This is the final stretch. I can't do it alone once I get to Congress because they're going to try to give me a hard time every which way possible. I need to be able to open the doors of the Capitol and see all my reparationists out there, like Avengers assembled when I need y'all. They have to see that the people are behind me because it ain't just me. I'm just a representative of the people's desire. That's how it happens. And let me say something too. It can't just be me. I don't want anyone thinking Marcel is some Messiah type figure. I'm not. I'm not the reparations leader. I'm just a reparationist. I cannot be the only one. That's one of our problems with Black Americans. We like to have this MLK, Malcolm X type thing we got going on still. We want like one big personality to come and be the leader. That cannot be the case anymore. We all have to rise up. They can kill me and get rid of me, but they can't kill the movement unless we let them. If I'm the only person out here really doing something, I go and everybody else is sitting back saying, "Man, we need someone to do it." Then we become the person to do it. I've told people, when you don't see anyone who's worthy of your vote, then you run and you become the person worthy of people's vote. So I need all of y'all to be running for Congress. Let's show them that when all 8 of us run for Congress and 8 of us lose, that's all right, because 18 of us are going to be running again on a reparations platform for Congress. Then if 18 of us lose, then 20 of us are going to be running. We have to show these people we mean business.
Straight fire. So we put marcelforcongress.com in the chat. Family, go support. Please go and support. So the primaries
support in any way possible. If I could just say really, really quickly, I did sign up to assist with your phone banking, Marcel. So while we've got you, is there any inside tips you can give me for when I start these tasks on phone banking to get you support?
Well, my Nas, whose Twitter tag is Nas Escobar, and not the rapper, but Nas Escobar, the reparationist. He is the person in charge of it, so he has a script, and he will guide you from there. But one thing I can say to you is just don't be apologetic and keep it short and sweet. Short and sweet works for people. The longer people talk, the angrier and more irritated people get. Keep it short and sweet, and always ask people what are their concerns, what are their needs. Then that's a short, sweet, and always ask people what are their needs. Be sure to mention that I have a breaking news announcement right now for y'all too. South Carolina just made early voting, and they just approved it. So now people will start going to the polls May 31st. So if you're planning a phone bank, we are in emergency mode now because some people might vote for Clyburn just because they don't know about me at all. And I don't have an extra week now because voting starts May 31st. So we definitely need to get those phone calls on there. But let them know voting starts May 31st. Gregg, Marcel, Dixon. Keep it short and sweet. Ask them what their concerns. And that's really it.
Okay, short and sweet. Ask them about their concerns and get with Nas Escobar on Twitter for the script.
He should have been contacting you, but I'm sure he is because we've got a flood of volunteers.
All right. Well, I want to do my part to help. I definitely want to see you prevail in this.
And just to confirm, Marcel, the primaries are coming up, correct?
Yeah, it starts May 31st.
Okay, that is the primaries. All right, wonderful, man. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. There's one more slide I wanted to go through, and then we could definitely wrap it up.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Just one more slide, and then we can go on. And maybe, Marcel, if you want to quickly touch on this in terms of the history of South Carolina. But after the Yemenis War, The planters turned exclusively to importing African slaves for labor. With the establishment of rice and indigo as commodity export crops, South Carolina became a slave society with slavery central to its economy. By 1708, African slaves composed the majority of the population in the colony. Blacks composed the majority of the population in the state into the 20th century. For more information, family, you can look this up at Wikipedia. But Marcel, I wanted to know if, especially in terms of like rice and indigo, just in general, in terms of the industries, especially with the agricultural industry out there, how is that? Do Blacks actually run any of those industries out there in terms of like agricultural, specifically with rice? And is rice still one of the gross domestic products as well in South Carolina?
Unfortunately, with land loss, a lot of our people have had their land stolen. So our agricultural presence is there as the laborer. But as far as the owners, no. Most of our land was stolen, unfortunately. And rice, I don't know what percentage of our economy is based on rice, but rice is still extremely important here in South Carolina. Cuisine wise, the Greasy cuisine is heavily rice based. That's why if y'all follow me on Twitter, I'm always posting the foods I'm eating. Try to notice there's always a different type of rice stew. So that's the prevalence of rice. But unfortunately, because of our land theft, we don't have a big agricultural input. But that's okay, because my plan is to incentivize Black farming again. So it's coming, definitely coming back.
Yeah, you be making me hungry with them posts, Marcel.
Well, more's coming.
Oh, you're on mute, you Moya. You're on mute. And while he's getting off mute, I'll just ask you, Marcel, once you get past Clyburn in the primary, and this is June 14th is the vote, correct?
It's starting May 31st now.
It starts May 31st. Okay.
Right, but May 31st to June 14th, yes.
Okay. And then once you get past Clyburn, what's next?
The general in November.
And how do you feel about that? And your competition stacked up, or do you have any thoughts? Or are you just taking it one race at a time?
Definitely taking it one race at a time. And, you know, I don't know who I'll be going against for that until the Republicans have their general. Until they have their primary.
All right. Well, we did have some more slides to go through, but, you know, we're out of time right now. So, you know, maybe in the future after the primaries, you know, get that done first. Maybe we'll come back on and get into it. But once again, thank you for your time. You're doing great work out there, and as reverberating, you know, definitely amongst the media, the grassroots community. And we wish you but nothing but success, bro.
Thank y'all.
Thanks so much, Marcel. We will see you in Congress. That's my hope.
Oh, and one more thing, Marcel, are you going to be in Politics in Black later?
Yes, it's supposed to be today, actually. Okay. Not long from now. So yes.
Okay, so yeah, check Marcel on Politics in Black. Shout out to Politics in Black. They're doing some good things down in Los Angeles as well. So yes, go check out that show too as well.
All right, so if that's it, peace, love, and lineage-based reparations, fam.
And I want to be real quick, since y'all mentioned indigo. If you look at my billboard, that's the color. That's why I have it in that color. That's indigo.
There you go. And we're gonna take it real quick, real deep. Is like actually indigo, what people will know, you know, especially when you talk about ancient Africa and Egypt, you know, a lot of that was exported out from there to some of the other properties, because, you know, we grew that stuff. So, I mean, this is, when it comes to like dyes and all that other stuff, like this goes back to ancient times. So that's what, like, but all that was taken from us, right? When we got enslaved over here. Fortunately, as Marcel is part of the Gullah Geechee Nation, some of that information technology got transferred over. But for a lot of us, you know, the information technology got cut off, right? So That's why we have to prepare ourselves and get these reparations, not just monetarily, but just from a lot of other means that we have from our history as well. So yeah, thanks for pointing out that, Marcel, about indigo. Appreciate that.
Thank y'all. So everything is intentional, but y'all take care. Thank y'all for having me.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Come out and join the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California's first community listening session as an officially selected anchor org for the California Reparations Task Force.
This event is on Saturday, May 28th, 2022, starting at 1 p.m. at the California Ballroom in Oakland, California.
Event activities include discussion on ACA 3, tracing your lineage, and reparations.
To register for the event, go to CJEC's Eventbrite page. Space is limited. Let's make history.